So can I explain how the human feels hardness? In general, so for example, you are sitting on the seat. At the beginning, you feel some weight on your bone, but the time comes a little bit after, and you feel nothing. But someone kicking on the chair, you feel, because we are feeling on the peak magnitude and also the rate of loading. So, for example, this line in sky blue and red, these change are similar peak magnitude, but we can feel the blue line is harder because having a steeper loading rate. So the second findings, the new testing procedure we developed was succeeded in reproducing a high loading magnitude likely cause of human sports action. Also, the testing demonstrated its distinct advantage to evaluate the shock absorbency of 3G TF by illustrating those differences in peak magnitude and the rate of loading between the type of 3G TFs. So anyway, finally we get the maybe appropriate testing ring to evaluate the shock absorbency. So anyway, we are in the junction. Which way to go? Yeah. The biggest issue the TELC has is, it has no optimal standard, optimal goal inside the world of artificial turf. So how do you go? Try to develop a new generation artificial turf, but we don't have standard. So anyway, we must go this way. Maybe the only standard we have to arrive. But there's a very hard work and time-consuming work when we try to make a natural turf, digging a big hole and putting the hose plate in the natural turf. It's very hard work. So we somehow to try to find the solutions. Our solution is very simple. We made an attempt to measure the property of natural turf from the surface. Before that, we check the matching between the force measured underneath platform and the accelerometer, the acceleration change measured by accelerometer, put it on the impact head. As you can see, it's a nicely matching. If these parameters are nicely matched, so we can estimate the shock absorbency property from the surface. So we check the matching, the loading to the peaks, and here's the result. It's nicely matching, mostly close to 1. A little bit different and close to the top, the peak magnitude, around the peak magnitude. So we also check the relationship between the peak magnitude and the peak force with different infield types. So this is the result. So this is also okay, if we changed the infield component, but the peak of the force and the peak of the acceleration was nicely matched. So that's why we thought we can estimate the property from the surface. So now is the result. But now we have included natural turf property in black line. That was a little bit surprise for us because we thought artificial turf is harder than natural turf, but the structure is different. As you can see, this is the line in black is natural turf. Acceleration changes, but except for one 3D turf with sand infill, most type of 3D turf are softer. The natural turf. Can't believe it. Also, we tested in luxury mode of 3D turfs. In luxury mode, to adapt the higher standard, such as FIFA 2 style or something like that, adding shock pad between the turfs and the rigid bare base. And this is the result. We use the two types of shock pad with rubber and shock pad to urethane. As you can see, very interesting findings. When we add the rubber shock pad with only sand infill, the change of the acceleration became quite closer to natural turfs. But on the other hand, makes the other turfs more softer. It's far from the natural turfs. And if we put up this type of shock pad, not so good. You know, the changes were oscillating a little bit, and the softness was emphasized. You can see the changes were shifted on the right side. So the findings. Most type of 3D turfs were found to be softer than natural turf. I think this is a new findings. Also, underneath shock pad to adapt higher standards most likely emphasize this excessive softness of 3D turf. So we think about why 3D turf is, became much softer than natural turf. Our understanding is artificial turf has been harder than natural turf till the third generation. That property might accumulate chronic damage onto players' musculoskeletal system. That may be a risk, but that might increase the risk of injuries. So we have thought, the artificial turf is harder than natural turf. So that gave us a negative impression to the players. So to overcome these issues, so maybe some products add excessive softness given to 3D turfs. However, this might induce larger energy loss and the range of motion lowering due to sport action. Those can be a reason why players still have negative overall impression and feeling the more physical demand when playing on the 3D turfs. So I've got some suggestions. So some new testing procedures to adequately evaluate the shock absorbency are necessary. It's clear. The trend for developing artificial turf should be adjusted. And will reflect the property of natural turf. Used to be artificial was hard, but try to fix the problem. So we passed away the natural turf, to make the artificial softer than natural turf. So we must go back to the middle. So anyway, for further experiment, we try to act at another modification. Because we try to measure how much energy loss is occurring, actual loading, and how much the tufts are deformed during rolling. So we put the rotary encoder in the center of the rotation and measured. This is an example of the change of angle during impact. Here is the impact phase. And if we can measure the change of the angular velocity, change of energy here and compare, we can easily calculate the energy loss.